Hey beauties and bees, welcome back to the show. It's story time, which means before we start, we need to take a moment to settle in. Grab your skincare, your tea, your drink, whatever helps you unwind, and also be prepared mentally because tonight, as usual, we're diving into something really creepy. A viewer named Stefan sent me the story, and it is definitely one of those rare ones, that doesn't just scare you, but it kind of lingers in your head. So as soon as I read it, I knew I had to share it with you guys. Stefan told me that this is his only real supernatural story, and while it doesn't tie directly to any specific urban legend, he says it does have some elements that remind him of the shadow people phenomenon. And for those who don't know, shadow people are these dark, humanoid figures that people report seeing, usually out of the corner of their eye or during sleep paralysis. They're often described as having no discernible features, except their dark silhouette and sometimes glowing red eyes. Most accounts involve them appearing during that terrifying state between sleep and waking when you can't move, sleep paralysis. And people describe feeling this overwhelming sense of dread or being watched when these things show up. But here's the thing about Stefan's experience. Shadow people usually show up during sleep paralysis, and what happened to him doesn't involve that at all. He was fully awake, fully mobile, and this thing was interactive in a way that goes beyond typical shadow people encounters. So I'll let you decide what this thing actually was. Get ready, get comfortable, and let me tell you about what happened to a 9-year-old boy during what was supposed to be a fun family vacation in the summer of 1999. Let's begin. Hey guys, I got some good news for you. You know I'm always stocking new Korean products, right? And Black Friday is coming. And honestly, this is the only time of the year that I allow myself to restock whatever things I need or think I need without guilt. And yes, Style, my go-to place when I need Korean products, but I'm not in Korea. They are also holding their Black Friday mega sale. So it's a 1-week-long sale from November 24th to December 1st. And so many of the good brands are on huge sale, like up to 50%, which is crazy. And they sent me this box to show you what's on sale right now. So I'm gonna do a little unboxing. And I'm going to recommend some products that I actually use and are just great. Let me start with Dr. Meloxin's Peel Shot. This is my go-to when I want smooth, clean skin without irritating it. I sometimes struggle with whiteheads, so this is what I use every single week. It gives me a very gentle daily exfoliation. And as you can see, when you scrub the product on your skin, your dead skin peels off. And after using this, my skin texture always looks more even and my makeup sits better. Next is the Celemax Retinol Shot Tightening Serum. This is the one I reach for when I'm focusing on fine lines. It's a beginner-friendly retinol shot, so it has a little tingling feeling, but doesn't shock the skin. But it does help with smoothing out early signs of aging. The VT PDRN 100 Essence is my repairing step. PDRN is amazing for skin recovery, deep hydration. So whenever my skin feels tired, dull, or slightly irritated, this brings it back to life. Then we have the Some By Me Miracle Toner. This is the one that really helps when my whiteheads or clogged pores are acting up. It exfoliates on multiple levels. After all those active ingredients, I always balance my routine with something calming. The Dr. Althea 345 Relief Cream is just perfect for this. It's lightweight and it helps strengthen the skin barrier after exfoliation or retinol. And finally, the Clear's Vitamin Drop. This gives me that bright, even skin tone I'm always chasing. It's a gentle vitamin C serum, so it doesn't sting or irritate, but it works on dullness, dark spots, and overall brightness. And they gave me a special discount code for our BB community. It's BF18 Megan, and it's one of their highest discount codes this year. It's 18% off, no minimum purchase, but only for 72 hours. So if you've been eyeing something, this is the time. Happy shopping! So Stefan grew up in Missouri, the United States, and every summer he would visit his grandparents up in Iowa. Not just Iowa, but way up north, almost touching the Minnesota border. His grandpa Archie used to tell him that on a clear day, you could look north from the porch and actually see Minnesota. Stefan was pretty young at the time, so he's not sure if his grandpa was messing with him or not, but he chooses to believe it was true. The drive was 8 hours one way, so they only made the trip once a year during summer break. Usually it was just Stefan and his 2 younger sisters since their parents had to work. He was the oldest of 3 kids. Okay, now here is where things get interesting. Stefan never hated being at his grandparents' house, but he says it always had this weird, uncanny feeling to it. You know, that sensation when you're alone at night and you just feel like you're being watched by something. And that is the kind of experience he had there. I don't know if he was sensitive or something, but he would hear people talking downstairs while he was trying to sleep. He'd have nightmares, though he only remembers bits and pieces, usually involving something that looked like a person, but definitely wasn't, searching through the house for something. As a kid, Stefan didn't really have that much reason to believe in paranormal stuff. He grew up in a very Christian home where he was basically taught that ghosts and spirits aren't real, even though angels and demons are. So whenever he heard those voices at night, felt those eyes on him, or had those nightmares, he would tell himself it wasn't real, just his imagination playing tricks on him. The summer of 1999 was different though. That year, his parents were actually able to take time off work and join them for the full 2-week visit. It was their first big family vacation in years, and as it turned out, it would be their last for a long time. Stefan was 9 years old at the time, his middle sister Kendra was 7, and his youngest sister Catherine was only 2. Because the parents came along this time, the sleeping arrangements changed. Stefan and Kendra slept in the living room on an air mattress, while their parents and little Catherine took the upstairs room that Stefan usually stayed in. Kendra's usual room was being worked on, so that wasn't available either. For the most part, it was a pretty normal visit. They did some extra stuff since the whole family was there, like taking a day trip to the Mall of America. They also made their usual trips to a nearby theme park, swam in the lake, just had a really good time overall. But that feeling of being watched, that was still there, especially at night. And Stefan remembers that strange feeling kept him up more than once. One night, his grandpa found him sitting in one of the chairs in the living room, unable to sleep. His grandpa Archie was diabetic and had woken up to check his blood sugar. It was low, but the story he told Stefan was that he couldn't sleep either. So Grandpa poured them both a cup of chocolate milk and gave Stefan his very first piece of angel food cake. And it's one of Stefan's favorite memories, and honestly, that's really sweet. But here's what's important. That feeling of being watched went away when he was with Grandpa Archie. Only with him, though. Anyone else and Stefan could still feel those unseen eyes on him. Stefan says his grandpa is on his list of what he considers truly good people, and he thinks that might be why the feeling kind of disappeared around him. About a week into the stay, Stefan had another sleepless night. He rolled over onto his side, facing the hallway that led to the stairs. There was a high window at the end, letting in moonlight, and that is when he saw something. Long, dark fingers, like claws, wrapped around the corner. and a shadowy head slowly moved to peek around it, looking right at him. And whatever that hand belonged to was standing on the stairs, leaning around the corner to stare at him. Okay, this is just a shadow, he tried to tell himself. But if that were true, the moonlight should have shone through or made it less defined, right? He lay there for a while, trying to rationalize it away the best any 9-year-old could. Then he heard it, a soft, gravelly voice. "Hello, friend." His heart started pounding in his chest. He was too scared to move, even to hide under his blanket. This thing could call him friend all it wanted, but he wasn't about to look away or move. And his logic was simple. Maybe if he didn't move, whatever was there would think he was asleep, like everyone else, and just leave him alone. He doesn't know how long he lay there, wide awake and terrified. But eventually the sun began to rise. As it did, the shadow slowly faded into nothing, and he finally passed out from exhaustion. Like everything else, he convinced himself that it was just a nightmare. He doesn't dream often, but when he does, his dreams are pretty vivid, especially the nightmares. The next day, Stefan was playing at the foot of the stairs. He is a huge Star Wars fan, always has been, and the way the stairs split left and right at the bottom made it the perfect make-believe Millennium Falcon cockpit. And that's when he heard his parents upstairs, quietly arguing about something. It turns out his father, who thought of himself as sort of a holy warrior type, had this uneasy feeling when they arrived. He prayed for God to remove whatever it is from the upstairs. He said, since it was his parents' house and they were just letting them sleep there, that was the extent of where he had authority to ask for protection. He couldn't push the thing out of the whole house because it wasn't his house. He told Stefan's mom that there was an angel at the bottom of the stairs that would keep it from coming up. Mom sounded upset. She said she wanted to leave because she was worried about Stefan and Kendra. There wasn't enough space for all of them in that room, and she wasn't okay with leaving them to whatever might be there. But Stefan's father was firm about it. They were safe. The kids would be safe. And that was that. That evening, Stefan's sisters and grandparents were outside catching fireflies. He decided to stay inside to watch cartoons while he heard his mom scream. Not a piercing horror movie scream, more like a choked scream. The kind that only happens when you're so scared, you just forget how to make sounds. So he ran to the foot of the stairs and heard his parents talking again. His mom sounded like she was crying, talking about seeing something outside the window. His father was telling her it made sense for this thing to be angry because he had kicked it out and it wanted back in. They started arguing again about leaving, and it was getting more heated. Stefan started to move up the stairs to stop it. He was always a mama's boy, and his father wasn't a good man with a bad temper. But as he climbed the stairs, he felt pressure on his shoulder, like someone was holding him back. But there was nothing there, just this strangely cold pressure, like a frozen hand. And at the time, he thought it was the supposed angel stopping him from going upstairs and getting in trouble. The argument ended the same way, with his father putting his foot down and saying they weren't leaving. Stefan scurried back to the living room when he heard his dad coming down the stairs to get his sisters for bed. But then he went upstairs to check on his mom and see what was wrong. She looked pale, like she'd seen a ghost. And when he asked her what was wrong, she only said she saw a big spider, and it scared her badly. And it made sense to him at the time. But years later, he found out what she really saw when they were talking about weird things they'd experienced. She had looked out the window and saw two glowing red eyes, glaring and hate-filled, staring back at her from the second window, with nothing under it but a straight drop to the ground. That night, Stefan had a dream. At least that is what he calls it. He was playing outside the house when he heard someone calling him inside. He went in, but didn't see anyone. He was alone in the house, but the voice kept calling. Stefan, come down here. He stepped into the kitchen and saw the door to the basement open. He knew that's where he was supposed to go since the voice said, down here, but they were never allowed in the basement for any reason. And the idea that someone or something wanted him there made him scared. He stepped onto the stairs and called out, "Who's there? Come down here. I just want to talk to you." He slowly walked down the stairs into pitch black darkness. The kind of dark where you can just close your eyes and not tell the difference. When he reached the bottom and looked around, a single dim light bulb came on. Under it stood a person-shaped shadow with long arms, clawed fingers, and glowing red eyes. "I have a special job for you, friend." The way it called him friend made his heart pound, just like the shadow he was so sure was only a dream before. When he didn't say anything, too afraid to speak, it continued. "Your dear daddy kicked me out, and I want back in. So tomorrow, something big will happen. I don't want you or anyone else to stop it. If anyone even tries..." It blinked, and suddenly it went from across the dark room to right in his face. He felt icy breath and that same cold pressure in his shoulders from before. Even angels have to blink sometimes. He woke up with his heart pounding like a panicked bird in his chest. Like I said, he'd had vivid nightmares before, but never one where he could actually feel anything in them. The feeling of that cold hand made him wonder, had it been an angel that stopped him from getting in trouble? Or was it the shadow keeping him from stopping his parents' argument, hoping his father would finally give up and leave? The rest of the day, he was on edge, waiting for something to happen. But when the day turned out pretty okay, he wrote it off as just a really, really bad dream. Until that night. He doesn't know when or how it started, but his father and grandmother were screaming at each other. And they'd never had the best relationship, and some of that boiled over during the trip. The only thing he remembers clearly is his grandmother shouting, "Get out of my house!" And when she did, he could swear he saw those glowing eyes in the dark room behind her. And he remembered the dream. The shadow wanted this to happen so they would leave, and it could come back inside. So he stood silent as they screamed at each other. But then he heard something behind him that terrified him even more. Kendra crying and saying, "Please stop fighting." And his big brother mode kicked in. He stood in front of her and looked right at those glowing eyes with all the bravado of a 9-year-old brother protecting his sister. Finally, his father gave in, and they left. It was years before any of them came back. As they pulled away, Stefan got that sense of being watched again from something in the upstairs window, the one for the room his parents had been in. Years and years later, Stefan's mom and him were talking with Kendra about different paranormal things they'd experienced. And Kendra has more experiences than Stefan even knows about, and none of them pleasant. Looking back, he wonders if it was because she tried to stop that fight. Since this was his only supernatural experience, he told them this whole story. And that is when he learned it hadn't all been nightmares. Everyone had experienced something on that trip. Stefan says he wouldn't call it PTSD, but he will say he can't sleep in a dark room anymore. He needs some kind of light, whether it's a TV, a hall light, or a night light. So that is Stefan's story, and I want to thank him for trusting me with this experience. It's genuinely one of the creepiest personal accounts I've received, and what makes it even more unsettling is that it affected his entire family. So what do you think that was? What was this thing? While typical shadow people appear during sleep paralysis and stay silent, Stefan's entity was different. It spoke, it planned, it manipulated people. Some researchers, like paranormal investigator Rosemary Allen Guiley, believe that shadow people might actually be jinn, supernatural beings from Islamic tradition created from smokeless fire. According to the lore, jinn were on Earth first, and some are still angry about being pushed out by humans. They become territorial about places they claim as their own. Kind of fits Stefan's experience almost perfectly, This thing had claimed that house, and when his father kicked it out of the upstairs, it got angry and wanted back in, so much that it was willing to orchestrate a family fight to just drive them away. The glowing red eyes, the shadowy form, the intelligence, the territorial behavior, it all lines up with accounts of malevolent jinn taking shadow form. Whether it was a jinn, a demon, or something else, one thing is certain. Whatever was in that house is probably still there, watching from the upstairs window. So what is your theory? What do you think that was? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, please be safe out there. And maybe think twice before dismissing that shadow in the corner of your eye. That's a wrap for today. See you guys later. Bye-bye.